Hello again, and now we will focus into two case studies. The first one took place basically in on Afghanistan in 2021, I think, but the details might differ a little bit. But the context, I think, it was when Taliban took over the control. So what happened there? The banking restrictions started to be applied due to the political change, which made it basically possible to withdraw funds for humanitarian aid. Basically, without the access to cash, aid operations were at risk of shutting down. So here, what happened is that international NGOs, back donors, and national NGOs tried to come up with a solution to ensure that the delivery of assistance will not be freezed by those kind of banking restrictions that had been applied. So what happened? They came to an agreement and they overcame that challenge by agreeing that a group of intermediary donors and partners collaborated to design a risk-sharing approach. So instead of leaving local organizations to struggle with financial access or giving them conditions like have a bank account outside the country or we are already having this kind of money, come and transfer it to a Hawala system or whatever, they decided to coordinate the cash transfer through a controlled system. Intermediary donors ensured that financial security in the transit, while local partners assumed the responsibility for the cash withdrawal and distributions. So here we see how they shared the financial risk, and instead of transferring it to the national NGOs, this approach ensured that the aid operations continued while staying compliant with the different banking regulations. This case demonstrated how risk sharing can prevent operational breakdowns in the face of financial and regulatory challenges. It's very important here to find that such an outcome, humanitarian funds remained accessible while ensuring compliance was very difficult at the beginning of it. But through dialogue and collaborations and sharing risks and breaking the mitigation down into smaller pieces allowed national NGOs to continue serving their communities which were in severe need for humanitarian aid, and in the same time they kept compliance with the different banking restrictions imposed over that country. So let's move to another scenario. Case study 2 is about overcoming financial barriers in compliance for local NGOs. Here, in this scenario, a local NGO struggled with the financial compliance burdens imposed by donors. We know sometimes donors are not available in the country, and in order for them to mitigate such risks, they impose some external, especially financial requirements that many national NGOs cannot comply with. Here comes, and at the same time, those national or local NGOs are the best positions to deliver assistance to the targeted communities. Intermediary donors have noticed this and decided to share the risk of the national NGO with their capacities and capabilities. The things that they have done is they have a cost-sharing policy, 50-50%. The indirect costs were equitably distributed with the local partner. This has lowered some of the financial burden of those requirements on the national NGOs or the local NGOs. The second thing, the intermediary donor provided a simplified one report template to the local NGO to fulfill, and then they will manage the back donor reporting based on their team, either in the country or in headquarters. Here we can see that how those two solutions have helped the national NGOs to keep focus on delivering the aid to the targeted communities, and the back donor have shared the risks of those different imposed requirements by the back donor, and in the same time, we kept compliant with the different requirements of the back donor. Here we can see how it is possible to fulfill some of the difficult requirements or complicated requirements or detailed requirements as long as there is a dialogue, an open dialogue, there is a transparent open dialogue between the different actors. Here, the back donor also shared the risk by accepting such mechanism imposed or as suggested by the intermediary donor. So again, dialogue and collaboration, transparency is always the key factor in risk sharing. Now we are almost at the end of this course, and let's see you in the last video.